Hello and welcome to World Talks on TVP World with me, Ashim Kumar. European Commission Chief Ursula von der Leyen addressed the European Parliament on Wednesday, outlining critical priorities for the European Council, including supporting Ukraine. Ukrainian President Zelenskyy also touched down in Brussels for a NATO meeting to seek further military support ahead of a change of administration in the White House. Much energy is being expended in Brussels. How do we expect things to have moved forward after the last guest has left? Well, to discuss that, we're joined by Jolanta Szymańska, an EU expert from the Polish Institute of International Affairs. Welcome to TVP World. Thank you for taking the time.
Thank you for the invitation and good morning.
Good morning to you. So, lots going on. Clearly, Ukraine very much at the top of the agenda in Brussels at the moment. How do you see European support for Ukraine? I mean, we just reported on Polish a decline in Polish public opinion, about the war continuing in Ukraine. But politically speaking, what do we see?
Well, what we see in Brussels that Europe is still divided about the need to support Ukraine. But the topic is more and more urgent because of the situation in the White House. So we should finally take a step. And what we are doing as a country and region, because it's good to know that we will start our presidency still in the Council at the beginning of January, is to really is to try to convince the others that we should stay with Ukraine as long as it takes and really take responsibility and prepare Ukraine for peace talks. Because to start peace talks, it's good to strengthen the position of Ukraine. It means we need more spending on defense. We need more in a short term, very urgent direct support for concrete air defense systems, because Zelenskyy is actually asking Europe for 19 different kind of air defense systems. So we should provide necessary support now and later discuss funding for building European capabilities in a long term, because we cannot predict what will happen in the next years with United States presence in Europe.
So you raise a number of issues there. Let's start with the US. There is clearly a level of concern that the tap will be turned off. Funding for Ukraine is going to end as soon as President-elect Trump takes power. Now, President Trump is and has always been a little bit unpredictable, but there's been one thing he's been consistent about. Mm-hmm. And that is, since 2016, he's been saying that European countries need to pay their fair share of the NATO budget. But Europe hasn't done that. Is there an argument which says that had Europe done that then, they wouldn't need to be running around now, ramping up investment at the last minute?
Well, actually, for sure, the concept of strategic autonomy presented some years ago under first Trump presidency was the first attempt to build a consensus about strengthening European capabilities, military capabilities. And we know that there was a really big discussion about the issue, but some countries are simply not ready for this step. I think it's a matter of perception of threats, and Germany, for example, is still very passive in this discussion, so to say. So it's not so easy to convince some countries that the war, it's a real possibility in the continent. If you cannot do it, I mean, it's really difficult to discuss money about defense spending. So now I think this risk is much closer. although still some countries don't believe, I think, that it can really happen here in Europe, in the European Union, for example. But we made a progress, I mean, but still we need more, because the crucial, in my opinion, the crucial time is the next half a year, because we will discuss the European budget. I mean, we will start discussing the European budget, and financing, spending on defense is a crucial issue. That's why we really stress this point in the program of Polish presidency, for example.
Fine, I get that, but the 2% of GDP is not new, but that's still, I mean, some countries, as you say, haven't even met that target. Now, you also talked about suing for peace from a position of strength for Ukraine. What does that look like to you?
Well, we need to show that West, not only European Union, but also United States, is still supporting Ukraine. I mean, and can provide support, that this war can continue. I mean, that Ukraine is not
forced to come to the...
Yeah, I mean, it's a worst case scenario, just to show that okay, let's make a deal, I mean, as soon as possible. No, we cannot show that we are weak. We need to show that we are really committed to support Ukraine as long as it takes. It means that it's better for Russia to negotiate. I mean, this is the position that we should offer, I think, and this is something what we try to negotiate now.
So what does Europe need to do that it's not currently doing?
What it's not
currently doing to put Zelenskyy in a position of strength when he goes to negotiate with Russia. What else does Europe need to do?
Well, I think we still have some doubts among European countries. Look at Hungary, look at Slovakia. I mean, there are countries who really try to convince that we need this peace as soon as possible. I mean, no matter about costs of this peace. So we still need to really create a kind of one bloc for European support, and if not one bloc, then at least very strong coalition of the countries that will provide this support, even if we don't have a deal on the European level.
Okay, now let's fast forward. We have a situation where the peace talks have started. What would be the best formula that could come out of those peace talks for the European Union, for Ukraine?
Well, difficult question. I think that I cannot answer really, because the best formula, what do you mean by formula?
What solution? What do you think is something that might be sustainable?
Well, actually, the best solution is to have the shape of Ukraine that we know from 2014, from before the war, the start of the war. But I think that the situation is going to be much more complicated, and this kind of perfect solution is somehow maybe more and more difficult now to achieve. So I think first thing we should ask Ukrainians what they want, and this is actually the position that Poland also supports, that we cannot really decide in the name of Ukrainians. They need to decide what they are ready to sacrifice, what they are not. We know that the Ukrainian society is also very tired. We know that they are also ready for negotiations. They want negotiations because they have problems in their army. They also in some opinion polls, we even see that they are ready to agree for negotiations without any preconditions. So it's a kind of desperate situation.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, but still, I think that for us, for Europe, as a supporters, we need first to ask them, what is the perfect solution for them?
Yes, yes. And as you say, you know, Ukrainians are kind of trending towards let's get peace, and, you know, even if we do need to make compromise. Now, clearly there's also there's a desire from Ukraine and from the EU for Ukraine to be given a path to accession to Ukraine. Is that a realistic possibility should peace break out?
Well, actually, enlargement was discussed during this meeting in Brussels, not only in the context of Ukraine, because we also had the Western Balkans Summit.
Balkans,
so, although enlargement policy is in a crisis, it's still a possibility, a realistic one. It's just a political decision behind it. And I think that we should still show the commitment that this is an option and that Ukraine is on the way. And this is also the aim of Polish presidency, to open the first chapter on fundamentals, first chapters of talks about the enlargement. So I think that this signal should be sent also from the Council summit that we are witnessing today. So.
Right, so a combination of make Ukraine strong, keep it strong enough to negotiate from a position of strength, perhaps be prepared to give up some territory for negotiation in the future, and at the same time offer a path to accession.
Yeah, of course. And this is the signal that should be sent today, because I want to remind that this is the summit, the European Council summit, so we cannot expect very concrete outcomes, very concrete solutions today. We should expect political signals, and we will work on this in January and later.
Well, we'll certainly be keeping our antenna up for those political signals. Thank you very much for sharing your analysis with our audience.
Thank you very much for having me.
Pleasure. So that's all from us in this episode of World Talks. Goodbye.